dangerous is an understatement. Like, you are dealing with and negotiating with this powerful force that can just wipe through and tear things apart, and it's trying to kill you.
How do I deal with it? I make sure that I train hard. I make sure that I look after my own mental health. I make sure that when I respond out of that fire station or as a lifeguard, I make sure that the people of that community get 110%. But deep down, if I never become a firefighter, I would have been never fulfilled in following my dream.
I'm Selema Masekela. After over 25 years of broadcasting in the world of action sports, I have seen an overabundance of risk-taking.
But risk has many faces.
Doesn't just live on the mountain or in the half pipe.
It keeps dominion over the skies.
The land, the sea, and 1,000 places in between.
Embracing risk is like signing a contract with yourself. You have to put a piece of you off to the side and lay it all on the line in order to do what you love.
And in this season, I'll be traveling the world to meet some of the most exceptional people on earth who have signed that very contract. People who have built a personal relationship with risk, embody it, and perform it at the highest level.
Welcome to the Team Ignition Show.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Team Ignition Show. I am your host, Selema Masekela, and today we have a very special guest. This is a young man who, let's just say, he needs lots of activity in his life that involves serving and helping others. At 16 years old, he became the youngest lifeguard in Australia. It was very well documented on the international hit show Bondi Rescue. And then in 2016, he decided that is not enough. He became a firefighter with Rescue New South Wales. He has a foundation called Live, Learn, Survive. He is a one-of-one human being. I've had the pleasure of spending the last couple of days with him. His name is Trent Maxwell, aka Maxi.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here, mate.
It is very, very good to have you. The last couple of days have been awesome.
It's been very fun.
For those who are listening and haven't seen it yet, you actually took me through a one-day intensive of what it's like to be a firefighter. You can watch that on the YouTube of the Team Ignition Show or at teamignition.net. We also surfed together.
Yep.
Caught some waves.
It's good fun. You got a nice left and I got a nice right.
It wasn't a competition, but according to the crew, you won the heat, mate.
Mate, I come through right at the last second.
You walked away with the yellow jersey, but we'll get a rematch someday.
100%.
It has really been a pleasure getting to know you over the course of the last couple of days. And I just wonder right off the bat, like, what drives you to do two intense jobs that really require crazy levels of selflessness in being both a lifeguard and a firefighter?
To be honest, Selema, mate, I've been doing it for so long, it just becomes very natural. And from such a young age, I've always wanted to be a firefighter. And I was lucky enough to get into the life-saving and the nippers at a young age. And it kind of, basically, I grew up with it. And it's pretty much all I know. So if I was to do any other jobs, I don't think I could do it. It's being a lifeguard and a firefighter, it's in the blood.
What was it about you as a kid that made you think, all right, first of all, I'm going to be a lifeguard?
Well, it's funny because I actually had to get rescued when I was really young. And that was the tipping point of me going down this path. But I used to sail a lot as a kid. And one day I was so petrified because the wind changed and the currents changed and it started to blow me out to sea. And I started to panic. And as we all know, that's the wrong thing to do. And I actually jumped overboard and had to get rescued. I was about 9.5 years old. And I walked away from the sport then and there. I had about 6 months off sport. And my parents said, hey, do you want to go down to South Maroubra Beach and join the local surf lifesaving club? And it's called Nippers here in Australia. And basically it's skills out in the ocean. It's a competition. It's something that a lot of kids do. And from the first day I started, I wasn't the fastest kid. I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I didn't have the right skills, but gradually over time, I started to build up confidence. And initially, I wasn't part of the team events because I was too slow. But what I used to do, I used to go out in the water, started to get a little bit better. And as I was coming through each weekend of doing the competition, I started to get faster. I started to get a little bit better. And then I started to get selected for the state team and the Australian team to be able to represent the club in those competitions. And before too long, I was training 5 or 6 days a week, doing swim training before school at 5 a.m. I was doing board training most afternoons down at the surf club to get my board skills up. And sure enough, again, I've always wanted to be a firefighter ever since the age of 2. But I knew being a part of the surf club and doing my, kind of being around the beach, I was like, well, lifeguarding would definitely be a good stepping stone in eventually becoming a firefighter. And I used that as a drive. And I wasn't the most academic person at school. I actually left school in year 10. And I was very lucky in my last year at school, for that year in year 10, I had a career teacher and he said, hey, you need to do something. What do you want to do for your 2 weeks work experience? And the 2 weeks work experience turned into, I said, well, I would love to go down and do some lifeguarding down at Maroubra. And I went down to the beach and they said, can I do some work experience? And they said, actually, nah, you have to be 18. So, oh, okay. Maybe if you go to Bondi, ask them and you might be able to do a week work experience. And basically, I went home that night, jumped on the internet and looked up the Waverley Council Lifeguard Services email. I emailed Bruce Hopkins, who's still currently the boss, and said, hey, would I be able to, literally, I just wrote an email to him saying, hey, would I be able to come down and do a week work experience?
And you're 16?
I'm 15 at the time.
Right.
And literally, he said, yes, come down. We'd love to have you. I did that first week. Literally, I was washing windows, scrubbing toilets.
The grunt work.
And I just absolutely loved it. I was frothing.
And they're like, what's wrong with him?
And then basically after that week, I was so excited and so fired up. And I'm like, yes, this is going to be my stepping stone because to become a firefighter, you need to graduate. You need to have a graduation certificate and or a Cert 3 kind of, they call it a Cert 3 certificate where it's like it shows that you've done prior learning to becoming a firefighter. And I knew that, lifeguarding, I could potentially do that as a trade and then help me get into the fire service eventually. So as I did that week work experience, they offered me to go for the rest of the year, every Monday for the rest of the year. So while everyone was at school on the Monday, I was down the beach, doing the grind work and trying to work my way into being a part of the team. And then literally November of 2006, I was at school and I got the phone call from Hoppo asking if I was keen to become the youngest professional lifeguard, part of the traineeship, the full-time traineeship at the time. And of course, I was doing somersaults at school and I said yes. And I started in 2007 as a trainee lifeguard. And from then on, trained up. And as soon as I turned 18, I'll become a fully fledged lifeguard.
What was that like when this dream comes true, you end up graduating, you become a lifeguard, and then this unexpected intersection of the show?
Yeah. Well, again, a lot of people don't realize this is the Bondi Rescue, they film the lifeguards as is. There's no recruitment, there's no
casting,
there's no auditions, there's no nothing. They literally turn up on the 1st of December and they film for 3 months till February, and they film every single day from 6 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night, and they capture everything through GoPros and cameras. And they just started filming me. And back then, they captured all the lifeguards' personalities. So you had the old sea dog, you had the veteran lifeguard, you had the crazy lifeguard, you had the funny lifeguard.
And then there's you.
And then I was just the young gun.
Full of energy.
I was just bouncing off walls. I made so many mistakes. And to the council's credit and Hoppo's credit and the team's credit, they backed me and they supported me and they guided me through the maturing years. And I had to grow up very quickly.
Yeah, what was that like being that young amongst grown men they have a different thought process?
Definitely. And there was a lot of risk as a young lifeguard, but I took it in my stride and I backed myself and I made sure that I listened a lot. Even though I was keen and I was very 100 mile an hour, I was breaking things and I was doing all sorts of things, I always listened to the veteran guys. I sat there, I listened, I learned, I tried to take in as much as possible.
What was it like the first time that you really saw like a person in in distress, in physical harm, like really, really bad injury, something that might make you,
Well, there was two stories. My first week doing the traineeship, the lifeguarding traineeship when I was still at school, on the last day, the Friday of that week, I did a double person rescue. And I still never forget it. They let me paddle out there and rescue two people out in the rib. It was a very simple rescue. So that was my first exposure to actually rescuing someone out in the water. And then basically my first day at Bronte Beach, I was dealt with a very major incident where someone had fallen off the cliff. And I still remember to this day scanning the water with the binoculars, and I remember someone coming running up to the tower saying, someone's just fallen off the cliff, they're in the water. And I remember picking up the binoculars and looking through and seeing a person face down with a red shirt on. I'm like, oh wow, this is real. This is on. The guys responded. They said, stop. Make sure that you just set up all the first aid equipment on the sand. You don't necessarily have to go out and do the rescue. It's going to be pretty confronting. So I set up all the gear, the defibrillator, the first aid kit. The jet ski from Bondi come over, picked up the patient, brought the patient in. Still remember him dragging him up the beach, and this guy was, unconscious, not breathing, full-blown scenario. And the guys started to get to work, put the defib on, started doing compressions, and I'll never forget it. Kerbox, one of the veteran lifeguards, is now retired. As he's pumping the chest, he's looking up at me and he goes, you're next. You do the rotation through the compressions. So talking about a negative, crazy situation into a positive, being a young 16-year-old, being exposed to that.
You're young.
Very young. And I did have a moment where I'm like, am I up to this?
Yeah, what am I doing? Like, your friends are playing video games, having fun. And you're out here confronting like life in a way that like you don't even comprehend as a young person until for another 10 years. Like, even the idea of like fatality, that I could die, and you're out here face to face with it. What was driving you?
At that moment in time, I was like, okay, this is something that I definitely want to do. I want to make a difference within the community, and I want to help people. And from then on, I'm pretty much a black cloud still. I still deal with a lot of major incidents, and I've been, I've got stories as long as my arm to tell you. And I've been a part of plenty of different situations, some good, some bad, some ugly, and you just be going, what the hell do you guys get exposed to? It's crazy, but I love it. I'm passionate. I've been lifeguarding for nearly 20 years. I've been a fiery for coming up to 10 years. I'm very passionate about what I do, and the fact that with the charity stuff I do too, everything I learn out on the field, all the experience, all the knowledge, I funnel that all into an umbrella where I can go, okay, when I educate kids about fire safety, water safety, first aid, resilience, I live and breathe it. And I make sure that these kids, when I teach them, and with the books that I write as well, is to make sure that they continue learning from some of my experiences so they don't find themselves in a situation where they could be in harm's way. And if they do find themselves in harm's way, they have the skills and the knowledge of how to deal with that.
Yeah. Bruce Hopkins said that you were essentially the first and last lifeguard that would be that age at 16. Why do you think he said that, despite your success?
I think first and last, maybe I was still a little bit young. Again, I could do the water stuff, but then I probably wasn't mature in other areas, and they probably realized that maybe there's a reason why 18 is the limit. And it's kind of cool because I'm the first and last 16-year-old to get a start.
This intersection of starting towards this dream you've had since a 2-year-old as a lifeguard, and then the show coming along, and not just being big locally, but also around the world, suddenly you're navigating something called fame. And I wonder what that must have been like, to suddenly now be this famous kid that people are recognizing you outside of just Bronte and Bondi.
Well, back then there was no Netflix or all these stream services. There was only really 3 or 4 channels on TV that a lot of people used to watch, and Bondi Rescue used to be on Channel 10, and a lot of people watched it back then. They used to get big numbers, and it was a show that the family used to watch on a Sunday night or a Tuesday, and it got a bit of a following, and not just here in Australia, but around the world, especially in the UK. But I had people around me that kind of, tall poppy syndrome here in Australia, but like I had a few people, mentors and senior guys, just kind of chop the tree down a little bit, just to kind of keep you grounded a bit and a bit humble. Because if I went down the path of, being on Bondi Rescue and then going down the fame path of like doing other stuff like presenting and that, like, to be honest,
don't take shots at presenters.
I love presenter, but what I mean is, like, if I went down that avenue of like, okay, I've got my foot in the door, I'm going to go down this
Right.
avenue. I reckon I would never have been fulfilled if I never become a firefighter. So all these years of doing all these cool things, really good opportunities. I've traveled all around the world. I was getting recognized in the streets, people getting photos of the lifeguards, we're on telly. It was a really cool time. But deep down, if I never become a firefighter, I would have been never fulfilled in following my dream. And I'm big in telling people following their dreams. I was always been driven to become a firefighter. And from the age of 18, as soon as I could apply for the fire service, Fire and Rescue New South Wales, I put in my application every year for 6 years.
For 6 years?
It took me 6 years, 6 attempts. And a bit of context there, it is quite a popular job here in Australia. There's about between 12 to 14,000 people apply each year for only 100 jobs. So again, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, not that much life experience, even though I was lifeguarding that. But in hindsight, every year that I missed out, it made me more and more hungry, more and more persistent of following that dream. And in the meantime, while I was getting knocked back, I was doing all these cool trips and I was doing some great stuff on Bondi Rescue, and the lifeguarding was good. You're on the beach, life's great. However, every time I got knocked back, I was like, no, I'm going to give it another crack. And I was persistent. And then I finally got in at the age of 24, which again is quite young to become a firefighter at that age as well. I was the second youngest in my class in January 2016. But yeah, it's something that I'm very proud of, and I'm glad I stuck with it. I didn't lose hope.
What was that training like? You get accepted, yep. 24. You also coming in with a little bit of like, hey, I've been killing it in this other thing. What was it like now to start this new path as a firefighter?
13 weeks. It's a grueling course. We do everything. We cover everything as firefighters. And it's not just fighting fires. There's first aid, hazmat, rescue, all sorts of different things that you train over the 13-week period. But then, once I finished college, I graduated, I got posted to Redfern Fire Station, and I was there for 3.5 years, and I had a really good crew there. And then I went from there into the City of Sydney, 1 station. I was there for 3 and a bit years. That was through the 2019 bushfires, which were crazy. And then went through COVID. And then I did my rescue certificate, or my rescue qualification while I was there. And then in 2021, I branched my wings out to get posted out to Bankstown, which is in the southwest of Sydney. It's a rescue station out there. It is the second busiest rescue station in New South Wales, if not Australia. We get up to 1,800 calls a year. We do everything from fighting fires to rescues to concern for welfares, medical access, emergencies, storms, first aids.
You name it.
You name it.
You have this dangerous job already as a lifeguard, and now you're choosing to be a fireman. What did your family say, your parents? Like, I'm sure they were supportive on the front end, but at a certain point, it's like, what?
I still can't tell Mum half the stories or half the things I deal with as a firefighter, because she just gets a little bit rattled and upset. But
give us some context of the types of things that you see in your job that would make people like myself or the general population go the other way when it's your job. You don't have that option. You have to show up.
Yeah. Well, good question. Some of the incidents that we go to, obviously some really bad fires, factory fires, house fires. Unfortunately, I've dealt with a number of fatalities in house fires where people haven't had working smoke alarms, which is a big thing that we like to push, making sure that people have working smoke alarms to help them get out of their home quickly and safely if a fire was there. We've had people leave the house and then go back in, and the conditions and the smoke, the toxic smoke is what's overcome them, and they've passed away. We deal with some really bad car accidents, major rescues, industrial rescues where people get pinned by heavy machinery, people get their arms trapped in machines and all sorts of different things. We assist the ambulance as well with concern for welfares and medical access emergency. So if someone's having a heart attack, we can do rapid door entry and give the people, the family, every chance of survival, making sure that the paramedics can get into that place quickly and do life-saving treatment. Storms, floods, bushfires, it is risky. We take risks of making sure that we help people and we look after people. At the same time, we make sure that we go home safe to our families, and we do the best we can.
When you see that much blood, when you see that much death, when you see that much trauma, when you see and experience and deal with people who are suffering and in struggle, you show up with people and see people on their worst days. How do you deal with that in order to show up? Because you're dealing with your own things in life.
The way that we deal with it is we're trained to do it. We're professionals. We need to make sure that we turn up.
How do you deal with it?
How do I deal with it? I make sure that I train hard. I make sure that I look after my own mental health. I make sure that when I respond out of that fire station or as a lifeguard, I make sure that the people of that community get 110%. I'm just very passionate about it. And I just know that, people that are dealing with the worst possible day, when we turn up, we need to make sure that we reassure them that everything's going to be a-okay.
Yeah.
And we give them the best service possible to make their day just that little bit better. And, I'm very proud of that.
What kind of things about lifeguarding, from what you have to do when it comes to life saving, that really draw you to it? Because I'm sure it's challenging.
It is challenging, especially down Bondi. For a kilometre stretch of beach, we have up to 40 to 50,000 people at any given time. There's only 7 lifeguards.
Busy.
Very busy. Only 7 lifeguards on. We get all sorts of different things. We get people stuck in rips. We get first aids, spinals, fin chops from surfboards, fights, car accidents, resuscitations, self-harming incidents, you name it. We get it all down there. So there's a lot of action, and I definitely get the buzz from that, to be able to know every time I put on the uniform, I'm there to help the beachgoers enjoy their day at the beach, but go home safe to their families overnight.
So a lot more than just people potentially drowning.
Yes, a lot more than that. It's a lot of surveillance, a lot of prevention. It's not just always about the rescues, it's about making sure that people are safe, trying to predict things that are going to happen before they actually happen. But in saying that though, my biggest day as a lifeguard, I had up to 135 rescues.
In one day?
In one day, 135 rescues. And that was a mixture of being on the jet ski and using the rescue paddleboard.
Right.
But yeah, 135, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. We do 12-hour shifts.
Don't take this the wrong way. You're like an addict. Like an addict for good.
Yeah.
Like, I listen to the way you describe helping people and showing up, and you can't let go of it. Like, I feel like I'm talking to someone who's addicted. Why is that? Where does that come from? And am I right?
I think it's just in my DNA, to be honest. Like, I know it's a weird thing to say, but I love doing it. I love having the skills and the knowledge and the confidence to be able to execute rescues and making sure that people are okay. Yeah.
Does that love of it, of that love of being able to be there for people, how does that help you to deal with the risk and the fear? Just because in my little bit of, my one day spent with you, just dealing with the fire aspect, dangerous is an understatement. Like, you are dealing with and negotiating with this powerful force that can just wipe through and tear things apart, and it's trying to kill you while you're trying to help others. And for me yesterday, I was like, this is great for the day, but like,
I don't want to do it again.
I'm good. Because it's real.
It is real. It is real.
You have a family.
Yeah. I have a
You
family.
have a wife. You have a daughter. It's real.
Yeah. So again, the why, it's because it's all I know. And it's something that I just love to do. And I wouldn't feel complete if I didn't do it. It is a selfless job. You're dealing with all types of different people, and, you're taking risks every day. But someone's got to do it, and you just want to make sure that person that's turning up wants to do it and is going to give 110%. And I can guarantee 10 years in, 20 years as a lifeguard, 10 years as a firey, I'll give 110%.
Have you had close calls? Have you knocked on the door?
Yeah, I've had some very close calls. Nothing too crazy. I've had a couple of times where there's been a couple of little explosions here and there in a factory fire, or
when you say little, by the way, I know that that's not little. Like, your idea of little explosion.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, well, like, again, fighting fire internal in a structure, especially at a factory, you've got different types of combustibles and flammable liquids and all sorts of different things that are in there that are projectiling and exploding, or you get a bit close to a fire, it's a bit hot, things start to melt, but close calls, fiery, there's been a few, but as a lifeguard, in some big surf, up against rocks, I've done a few hairy rescues. I actually did a rescue, a boat overturned in about 5 or 6 years ago now, boat overturned very close to the rocks at North Bondi on the other side of the cliffs. And we got the call, we responded on the jet ski. And I remember the two guys that were on the overturned boat on top, they both didn't have life jackets on, and they were absolutely petrified. They were white as ghosts. They were so scared. Their boat's been smashed against rocks. They're hanging on for dear life. And I remember rocking up on the jet ski, diving off the jet ski, swimming over to them. And I remember looking, and you're a keen surfer, you could see out the back. I could see
feathering the ocean.
Just the ocean just going, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you ready?
I'd like to participate.
And I remember just looking and fight or flight, going, okay, we're about to get smashed by these waves. Jump off and like let it do its thing, and then maybe reassess and rescue them then, or quickly grab them and just pull in the safety. And I just remember I had a rescue tube or a torpedo. I just wrapped the rescue tube around one of them. I took my life jacket off and put it around the other guy. And I literally, just as the wave was about to hit, dive off the boat, and they were floating. They managed to get over the wave and then pulled in the safety. Got him on the jet ski. The guy on the back of the jet ski that I gave my life jacket to, he was kind of in and out of consciousness on the way back. When I say in and out of consciousness, he was very, very weak and very, very, he was starting to decline. When we got back to the beach, I remember we dragged him up the sand. He was just lifeless, but he was still alive. He hadn't passed out that stage, but he just had nothing left. And then he ended up going to hospital and had 2 heart attacks on the way to hospital. So, just a hairy situation where it could have gone very south, that's just one. We've had a number of resuscitations where, people have been out in the water and you've had to put yourself in harm's way to retrieve the bodies and stuff like that. But yeah, there's so many different stories, man.
What's the worst day you've ever had as a firefighter?
Worst day I ever had as a firefighter, I wouldn't say it was the worst day. It was probably the craziest day. We had, in the one shift, it was a Sunday. I still remember it was a Sunday. We had an electrocution. Someone had been zapped in a lift. After that, we had a lady have a stroke driving a car and crashed, and we had to extricate her out of the car. Then we had a plane crash.
Same day.
Same day, plane crash at Bankstown Airport. We had a couple of other little calls, and then we had a major car accident where it was a double fatality where a father and daughter passed away in the back of an Uber. But that was a very full-on day. Even though there was not many fire calls, as a firefighter, you think that we deal with fires all the time, but that was a mixed bag of different incidents that we do as firefighters. The way that we deal with stress is we communicate with each other, we have debriefs, we make sure that we have a chat to a psych every couple of months. We make sure that I love to train. I train most days. That's like my escape by training. It keeps me mentally strong and physically fit. But yeah, knowing you have that support within the networks that's available to you, help you deal with those situations. But to add on to that, all those different situations that we dealt with that day, you have to reset the clock, get your gear back on the truck, bells go again, you're out the door. You can't dwell on too many things, if that makes sense. You got to keep turning up. You got to be present. And if things do affect you, and there's probably a few first responders that are going to listen to this podcast. If things do affect you, put your hand up, own it, and go get some help and have some time off.
What's it like when you realize like, oh, I need help?
Yeah.
Because what you just described in that scenario with a 7-year-old young child that died essentially in your arms, how do you, and then having to go out and do something else on that day and the adrenaline pumping back up when you get the call again and again. At a certain point, the emotions have to come up, and I'm sure they're real and they're raw.
They do, definitely. Have you ever heard of the analogy of like adding to the glass and the glass starts to overflow with water? Little job here, little job there, something in your personal life, someone's upset you, workplace issue, and then eventually that water starts to overflow and then your cup is overflowing and you can't really deal with the situations. I think it's very important to recognize if you're not 100%, if you're starting to be a little bit different. That's why you rely on friends a lot. You rely on family to make sure that they have some cues. If you are acting a little bit different, or if you're a bit short, or you're a bit short-tempered, or if you're a bit quiet, it's so important to be open about your feelings. And I'm very lucky that in my whole career as a lifeguard and a firefighter, I have a great team around me. There's no I in team, which I spoke to you the last few days about. It's all about team effort. We all bounce off each other. If someone's dealing with some personal stuff, we pick up the slack for that day. If I'm not 100%, you voice that, they pick you up for that day. Because it's all about looking after. It's not gone are the days of being gung ho and, it's like, we need to look after each other. And in both jobs, we do support each other, especially in those big major jobs. And the station I'm at and Bondi as well, any major job is all over the news. Right. So you're getting filmed by independent news crews, people with iPhones. So a lot of the stuff that you do is filmed and recorded and talked about. And, if it's a really bad job, it might be in the news for a couple of days after. It's sometimes it can just linger around. But, it's like anything, man. We're all human. You just got to just recognize your weaknesses. Try and take a few deep breaths. Back yourself. Take the calculated risk when you can, and just rely on your team.
What are those raw moments like when you feel the overwhelm? When you feel like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the describe like anxiety. Tight chest, you a bit shortness of breath, you get really hot and flustered. You get a bit short, you get a bit tempered. You start doing really abnormal things that you don't like to do, especially if you're a routine person. So again, if those things start happening,
and they've happened to you,
oh, definitely, man. Like, I've had some mental health days where you just shut up shop. You just take the day off, or you go sick, or you just take a bit of quiet time. Everyone has their bad day, man. Everyone has a bad day, and if you don't have a bad day,
you're not doing it right.
You're not doing it right. Life's a struggle, and you just got to recognize your weaknesses and really capitalize on your strengths. And for me, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to find myself. I'm still trying to be a better person. But yeah, you're constantly learning. You're constantly trying to just make sure that you are mentally and physically prepared. You're good for your family, for my daughter, for the crew, and for the community. I should say the community as well. They rely and they expect 110%.
I love that what you do, and I won't even call it abnormal, because I think in your job, you see the darkest parts of normal. There's 8+ billion of us on this planet. Bad things are happening to people all the time. People are dying all the time. We're lucky, even in this now moment, that like we're still here.
Yeah.
We're having an incredible day. We had an incredible surf today. But you're seeing the other side so consistently that it could drive you to be more reserved, to take less chances. Instead, you're choosing to go even harder in the direction of showing up in these spaces of existence that are the worst. Yet I'm talking to someone who is so radically positive in how you're showing up. Like being in this much adversity, or that of human adversity, it seems to me like it fuels you to be that much more for yourself and everyone around you. And it's really remarkable. I mean, you can't see it because you're the one who's describing it and relaying it, but the stuff that you're talking about, a lot of it is arresting. But I'm not sitting in front of someone who's arrested. You're as open a human being as I've ever met. Like as far as your presence and being here and your joy of existence.
Well, mate, again, it could go left, could go right. And, thankfully I've chose the right path and the right decisions to make sure that I turn up for the community, turn up for my family, turn up for my crew. Adding on to that, I'm a first responder, but there's millions of first responders in and around the world doing fantastic jobs, constantly up against it with different situations. And, hats off to them too, because it's a privilege to work alongside the men and women that are first responders. And there's a lot of people out there that are really up against it. And just keep doing, keep supporting and looking after yourselves, because it's so important that we have people like us helping people in the community.
A global tribe
it is, mate.
People who are willing to run into it.
And I'm just lucky enough to have a little bit of a voice, to be able to have this opportunity to talk to you, have a bit of fun the last couple of days, but have a voice to be able to speak for those other first responders, because there's a lot of us out there and there's a lot of people in these all sorts of corners of the globe doing what I do. And it's very cool to be a part of that world tribe.
You talk about your voice and having this platform and recognizing it. At what point did you realize, okay, I actually want to perhaps give this next generation of kids a path at what life can look like and write children's books?
Yeah. So the Live, Learn, Survive journey is quite interesting and quite unique. Myself and Lee Mason are the founders of the charity, and we started that back in 2018. And basically we created a series of children's books, water safety books that educate kids on what to do in and around the water. They're loosely based on my childhood aspiring to become a lifeguard. So it's a little bit of my story within the books, but also we do a lot of stuff within schools, and we've spoken to over 36 or now probably 37,000 kids face to face since 2018. That's through COVID as well. All around the UK, done some stuff over in America, all around Australia. Very passionate about what I do in the learning space. And again, I was saying before, is everything that I've learned, I feel like it's a duty to be able to give back to the younger generation, because these kids need to know these skills. And unfortunately, there's a lot of distractions in this world where people just get lost in their phones with apps and games and other distractions. And a lot of the education, some of the skills, especially the life skills, get missed sometimes. And basically situational awareness, knowing exactly what you're doing and having a bit of a understanding if things were to go wrong, how to be able to help yourself and help others. And it's a beautiful gift. And the cool thing is everyone can help someone if they're taught how to, and if they take some little bit of risk to be able to execute some rescues, knowing what the dangers are. But yeah, something, again, back to your question before, is giving back to the younger generation. I'm very fortunate to be, again, a platform, and it started all those years ago from jumping off that sailing boat and having to get rescued, getting that opportunity to become the first professional lifeguard in Australia from Hoppo and doing the traineeship, sticking with the firefighting journey for 6+ years, and then getting in there, doing the job, being at a busy rescue station. I feel like everything's just kind of meant to be the way that it is. And life is a journey. And one of my favorite books in the world is The Alchemist. And it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. The highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the good times, the bad times, the shit times, the not, everything in between. It's the journey. And I feel like on your deathbed, or if you're in a rocking chair when you're 80 years old, you're sitting there and the next door neighbor asks, one of the kids goes, "Tell me your story." Let me tell you, if you tell a pretty crazy story about the highs and lows and the good and the bad, that kid will be sitting there still listening for hours on end. But if you said, life was pretty good, didn't take much risk, I just did this, I did that, I stuck to myself, I didn't do much, the story would be over in 5 minutes. Good luck to the people that are doing that. But I think, again, it's the journey, it's the story that you can tell at the end. And as long as you're proud of the person you become, I know it's a very deep thing to say, but if you're another person meeting you in a couple of years' time, or in the present time, and they knew everything about you, you just want to make sure that they're proud of who you are and what you're doing.
When we were hanging out yesterday morning, to watch you even doubly light up when you talk about your daughter and your wife, and that you're in this era of family is a beautiful thing. I want to know how that affects the way in which you show up to work so that you can come back home to them.
Yeah, well, the story with my daughter and my wife, it's like every relationship and every pregnancy, a little bit bumpy. We had a bit of a rocky start with little Sunny, who's my daughter. We spent 11 weeks in NICU, which is the neonatal intensive care unit. When she was born, she was only 800 grams when she was born. So it's preemie baby. The reason why I say that is like, I've already had the resilience on how to make sure that I'm there for my wife and for my daughter while she was in hospital. When I'm out in the real world doing the jobs, unfortunately, I've had a number of jobs where I've dealt with kids and babies, some good, some unfortunate. Where I keep turning up and support my family is making sure that they're proud. And when I get home, I don't bring the doom and gloom and the bad vibes home. I try and be present for my daughter and for my wife. And I'm very lucky that on my days off, when I do have days off, I'm very present with my daughter and my wife to make sure that we enjoy our time together. And they bring me joy. And yeah, like every day is a miracle with Sunny, because, with the rocky start that we had, my wife, she's got some health conditions as well. Every day is a blessing. Every day is a gift. And yeah, I keep turning up for them because I have to. It's my duty, but also because I love them very much.
This has been a great conversation.
It's been good, man.
And the last 2 days with you it's been inspiring and empowering to me. But the manner in which you choose to continue to show up, and that you want to do for others and empower people to perhaps be able to live better in the midst of already performing all the selflessness, man, it is really, really powerful to witness. And I wish you the best next 20 years.
Thanks, mate. And I'll be definitely hitting you up if I ever come over to LA to hang out with you, man. It'll be good to see your neck of the woods. And I must say, you picked it up so well. There's not many people did as well. First time, bowling out a hose, getting the gear on. It's hard yakka, man. You did a brilliant job. So you should be very proud of, 13 weeks of training in 2 hours of filming and doing those drills. So
Thank you, man.
smashed it, man.
I appreciate that. Again, for those of you listening who haven't seen it, you could watch our episode of the Team Ignition show where I become a fireman on the Team Ignition YouTube or on teamignition.net. Trent Maxwell, Maxi,
Selema.
an honor, hopefully to be continued.
I must say the last few days have been a blast. So thank you for choosing me to be on this show.
Couldn't have made a better choice. I know that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, so hit the subscribe button, and you can go to teamignition.net so you can bathe in even more incredible conversations and enjoy the show.